It's now time for Sports Medicine with Malempati.
Hey everybody, once again, Sports Medicine with Dr. Malempati right here. And Doctor, first off, welcome back. I know it's been a few weeks since we've done one of these, but so excited that we can do another one here.
Yeah, good to see you again, William. It's been a busy time with football kind of getting in the real swing of things into playoff time and then some other sports starting. So it's certainly a busy time in the sports world.
Well, speaking of football, one of the big things that has come out, especially in that week one, was the Achilles and the Achilles tear, specifically Aaron Rodgers' injury. And so, why don't we talk about that today, Doc?
Yeah, so Achilles tendon injuries are somewhat of a common injury in sports and, usually happens when the foot is in a plantar flex position and then you get immediate dorsal flexion and it puts stress on that calf plus Achilles tendon. And certainly in the sports world can have injuries like that. Kobe Bryant has had that in the past. There's been several others. The running back of the Baltimore Ravens had that as well this year. So certainly a significant injury that requires typically when it's completely torn requires surgical management and treatment to fix that tendon back together, and then certainly a long recovery time as well to allow for healing and to gain back that range of motion and strength.
Explain where the Achilles tendon is on the foot there, on the ankle.
So it's in the back there below the calf. As that calf muscle attaches, it goes into a tendon, and you have that Achilles tendon in the back, and then that attaches to the heel bone in the back.
Okay. Yeah, and then how do you tear an Achilles? How is that possible? And I know you could do it across all sports. It's not specific to one, as you mentioned several different examples there. But how can you tear it?
So typically in sports or in football or basketball, it's a sudden dorsal flexion of the foot coming up when it's in a plantar flexor down position, and whether that's changing directions or starting and stopping. Kevin Durant had one a few years back when he was kind of at the 3 point line and then going to attack the rim. Just saw that pop. So there's a few ways you can do it, but typically it's that motion and that force on that tendon that causes it to rupture or tear.
I can see that being a strong point with just the force of some of these super athletes out there playing games. But does the turf or does the courts have anything to do with an uprising? Maybe those.
Yeah, so I don't think we know the answer to that. There's not been any research or literature showing a turf, grass field versus artificial turf would cause more Achilles injuries, but certainly is something to think of because these are fairly devastating injuries with long recovery times.
All right. So speaking of recovery times, what are the normal recovery times for an Achilles tear, and then what does that look like?
Yeah, so typically most of them, at least the complete ruptures, will require surgery. Surgery is dependent on factors such as age, whether the injury is acute or chronic, activity levels, and such. Partial tears can somewhat be managed non-operatively or without surgery with a cast and boot. Complete tears typically will require surgery or reattachment, whether it's attaching the two parts of the tendon back together or attaching the tendon back to the heel bone, the calcaneus. Recovery time is significant. It requires a lot to get that range of motion and that strength back. Um, Typically, in sports, players will miss the rest of the season. It takes quite a bit of time to get that calf muscle back as well, and to get that explosiveness back, whether that be football or basketball or another sport.
Well, Doc, I know you're a busy man down there at Med Center Health, doing some great things. Keeping these athletes back in the game. we appreciate all you do, not only for the athletes, but also for us here on PrepSpin, and can't thank you enough for the great partnership that we have with you.
William, it's always great talking to you. Hope to see you again soon, and hopefully we'll try to start doing this weekly from now on.
I hope so. Hope so, Doc, because great information to get out there to everybody, and valuable information at that. So Dr. Malempati there with Med Center Health. They're a UK healthcare sports medicine provider. And again, we appreciate all they do for us here on the network. Until next week, for Dr. Malempati, this is William Warfield saying so long, everybody.
Thank you, William. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Doc.